Hello. We'll just give it a sec here. Let things warm up. My CPU fan is on fire because I've got a lot of stuff running tonight. Hopefully nothing crashes. Yeah. Okay. So make sure we're good to go here. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I think everything's on. I think we're good. Hey. All right, so this stream will be archived on YouTube, so you can check back if there was something you missed. So the plan for tonight is a very open-ended stream that's just going to be kind of me making a track, I guess. It's not going to be like a I don't know if I'm going to record it necessarily, but I just want to kind of pull back the curtain and show how I start from scratch with designing sounds with my synths, my drum machine, and also how I start sequencing from code and how all that works. So a lot of everything. This is not going to be a TidalCycles specific session. And my chat window is not working how I thought it would, but that's okay. Okay, so that's all right. So the loose agenda is I'm going to briefly talk about how my environment is set up. I've got a drum machine, which I tried to get on camera in a decent fashion. And then I've also got quite a few things going on in my DAW. I have a synth called Harmor, which is my favorite synth that I'm using these days. So everything I'm going to do tonight is going to be real-time synthesis over MIDI, sequenced from TidalCycles, and I'm going to design all the sounds as I go. Everything's in real time, and I'm streaming and doing synthesis on my CPU at the same time. So hopefully this will all go smoothly. Thanks for joining, folks. All right, so let's start with some routing quickly, and then we'll get into some sequencing and code. All right, strap in, folks. This is going to be a long, fun one. And it's just going to be casual. So ask questions and just pretend you're all in the same room and same room with me, and it's going to be fun. Yeah. Okay. So routing. So I will assume you have some cursory knowledge of Tidal. This is my Super Collider startup file, and I'm just going to point out a few things in here. I'm not going to get into this in detail, but I've got 3 different MIDI devices that I am connected to. I've got 2 IAC drivers on my MacBook. One, it was on bus 1, that is called out as Harmar. So in TidalCycles, I can use Harmar as a sound name. And then on IAC driver 2 or bus 2, I've got, a util one, which I'm not sure I'm going to use, but I like to set up 2 different drivers on the MacBook, and then I can route like synth stuff to Harmar, and then if I want to do any automation in my DAW for like mixing or effects, I can put those on the util. And then I've got my drum machine, which is RYTM. So all the drums will be on RYTM. I've also got some samples here. I'm probably not going to use any of these, but this whole file is my Super Dirt startup file. So I am using, so let me show you in my DAW. I've got in Harmar here, or in FL Studio, which is my DAW. For Harmar, I am receiving notes from channel 1 on that IAC driver. And what else? I don't have the util stuff wired up. So I guess that's really all that's really all there is to show. I've got Harmor going to channel 3 on my DAW mixer. I've got my drum machine on channel 2, and then my lovely voice on channel 1. Yeah, okay. And just other extra information. I'm using Jack Router for all my audio routing, which actually makes this stream work. All right, that's one. That's going to be the shortest part of the agenda. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm just going to, I need to start either making sounds or making a sequence, and I'm just going to start with the sequence. I'm going to start there because there's a really fun thing I've been doing recently with mapping patterns, like a pattern of integers to different, to other patterns of different types. So if I have a pattern of integers, I want to map that to a note or a control value or a drum pad or something. So if I have, and I'm going to use my, let's just do something simple. So if I've got 8, this is 7 steps. If I've got, let's say an 8-step sequence here of 3 different integer values, 0, 1, and 2. And let's say I want to map these values to different pads on my drum machine. So let's say I want the 0 to be my rim shot pad, and I want the 1 to be the clap, and maybe I want the 2 to be a snare. So what you can do, so this is really going to be low-level stuff here, folks. So what I mean by that is I'm going to explain to you how my drum machine actually accepts data. So over MIDI, MIDI channel in title, it's 0, is pad 1 on the drum machine. MIDI chan 1 is pad 2, and MIDI chan 2 is pad 3, and so on. I've got 12 pads, so MIDI chan 11 is pad 12. So what this means is that I can map these numbers in my pattern to a MIDI channel. So in this case, I want 0 to be my rim shot, which is pad 3. And I'm going to start doing a block of stuff here. So we'll do pad 3 equals MIDI chan 2. Yep, that's right. And pad 4 is MIDI chan 3, and the snare drum is pad 2, which is MIDI chan 1. So, I can't do a do block without actually running a pattern. So, so what I'm going to do is then, I don't want to do this actually. This isn't going to work for my mapping. Sorry. Anyway, so we are going to create a, I'm bouncing around here, just getting set up. I'm going to define a variable called rhythm, which is going to be my drum machine, which will be sound rhythm, which is, again, coming from the Super Collider mapping. Yes, I'm using the Electron. This is my drum machine. And there's a catch to this that I'm not going to get into that yet. So then what I can do is if I want to play the rim shot pad, that's MIDI chan 2 on the rhythm. If I do this, the code works, but I hear nothing, and that's because by default Tidal is playing on MIDI note C5, but the rhythm by default listens for notes on C3. So now I can hear the rim shot playing. It's also a little quieter than when I hit it with my hand, and that's because the default gain in TidalCycles is a little quieter. So I've been defining a function called limit, which will multiply the gain by 1.2. And then I can just put limit on top of this, like that. Now it's a little bit louder. Yes, most drum machines are not chromatic. So the rhythm, if I play on MIDI channel 0, or the first channel, MIDI, or I guess it's MIDI channel 1, and in title would be MIDI chan 0, I can actually start at note 0, or MIDI note 0, which is the lowest note on the MIDI scale, and that will actually play the pads kind of chromatically. Anyway, but yeah, I'm just going to do it by MIDI chan here. So pad 3 is MIDI chan 2. And let's change the tempo a little bit. We'll do 180 over 120 here. A little bit faster. Okay. All right. So I'm playing the rim shot pad. So what I want to do is now map this pattern up here to different MIDI channels. Boy, my CPU fan is just super noisy. Hope that's not too annoying. So I've been using this function called fmap, which is a Haskell function, which will allow me to, or allow you, any of us, to map values from that pattern to a MIDI channel note. So I've got 3 values in my pattern. I'm going to have them all mapped to MIDI chan 2 to play that rim shot. And I don't necessarily understand the syntax because I'm not very good at Haskell, but I think this will do it. Let me organize my code a little bit better here so it's more readable. So this MIDI chan pattern is the mapping. You can see inside I'm mapping the pattern above to the MIDI channels to play. And since I'm mapping every integer in that pattern to the same pad, I get that same sound. So if So now you can hear that the 0s map to the rim shot, the 1s map to the clap, and the 2s map to the snare drum. All right, so this is not the sequence I'm going to go with, but I'm just getting stuff set up. So let's change this sequence a little bit. I'm going to use the that at syntax. I demonstrated this in my last stream. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but basically, the at syntax will allow me to hold those notes for a certain amount of time. All right, so let's do a little bit of sound design with it on the drum machine. So I actually don't want a rim shot. I want a bass drum. And bear with me while I adjust the microphone. Oh yeah. It's my pro setup. So I want this to be a bass drum. So I know you can't see what I'm doing exactly on the drum machine, but I'm going to change this pad to be the bass drum engine. And I'll change this to classic. There we go. That sounds much better. We'll add a little bit of overdrive to this. And I'm going to hopefully not bump anything here. This is the hard part about all these cameras and microphones and synthesizers is they're just kind of annoying. All right, so a little bit of overdrive. There we go. Let's go back to the clap. And I'm actually going to make this clap pad. I'm going to use the noise engine. Should we use noise or should we use the clap? No, we'll keep it as a clap. And what should we do? How about maybe adjust the filter a little bit. Let's put a little bit of overdrive on this. A little filter. This is my go-to kind of sounds that I've been using these days. So that bass drum, kind of that overdriven bass drum, and kind of a filtered clap. And let's adjust the snare a little bit. We'll change this to the classic snare engine. I like to turn the snap up all the way. Turn up all the noise a little bit more. Give it a really tight, there we go. So later on, I'm going to add some variation to this so that the sounds have a little bit of kind of breathing room and some sustain to them, but I'm just going to leave them like this. I hope that fan noise is not annoying you as much as it's annoying me. It's a really loud fan. Okay. All right, now we've got some sounds that are kind of a little more interesting, kind of a weird pattern going on. I'm going to add just a little bit of variation in this. Maybe I'll leave it like it is. I take that back. I'm gonna start adding some variation into this clap. So on the rhythm, you can add. There's some performance parameters. So I'm gonna add. Basically, the performance parameters are like pressure sensitive. You can change each pad to be pressure sensitive to have an effect on a sound when you push on it. So what I like to do is take the clap pad, put a performance parameter on that pad so that when it's pressed, it will change the sustain of the clap, kind of open it up a bit. So by default, our clap sounds like that. Let's maybe make it a little shorter. And then we will map that performance parameter to open up the clap a bit. And oh, I changed the wrong parameter. Hold on a sec. Okay, so now I've got a little bit of variance in the clap, but now I need to, what I want to do is control the amount that variation is being set in code. So what I'm going to do, we're going to read the manual. We're going to open up the Electron Analog Rhythm manual because I never remember the control change values. Let's see, so I've got all this stuff in other functions already in my typical startup, but I want to do this from scratch. So performance parameters. So I've mapped, it's performance parameter 4, which is MIDI control change 39. So we are going to make a stack here. And we'll do CCN 39. You know what we're going to do? Perf 4 equals CCN 39. We'll make a shortcut so we don't have to type all that. Perf 4 CCV. And then what we can do is like a random range from 0 to 127. So every time, basically this pad will get pressed once per cycle, and it'll get a random value every time. No, what did I do? Oh, I forgot to close the stack. Not hearing it though. I am not doing something right here. What am I doing? Performance for CCN, sorry, not CCV. There we go. So I don't think you can see it on the video, but the drum machine pad is, I can see it's changing color because it's being changed from Tidal code, not from me actually pushing it. So now every cycle that pad is getting a different the clap is getting a different length. So let's do the same thing to the kick drum. Let's add some sustain to that. So you know what, we're gonna change the transient on this to be just a little click. I liked what it was before. I'm gonna change the waveform of it. Whew, yeah, there we go. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the performance parameter. I am going to control the sustain of the bass drum, which is going to be very exciting and fun. So let's go back to our manual. Performance parameter 3 is control change number 37. I don't do this from scratch all the time, and I don't recommend doing it if you have a synth and you want to customize it. I like different patterns to have different randomness. So if you've used randomness in Tidal before, you will know that if you call rand at the same time as in another pattern, they will both get the same random value. And you can avoid that by changing the cycle of the inner pattern of where rand is firing. So if I do fast 2, that will cause rand to move ahead in its cycles, and it'll produce a different value. Yes, sh rand, you read my mind. So I like to create a little helper function for this. So instead of doing fast, I mean, that'll work, but what I like to do is make a function called shrand and then give it a number, which is the number of cycles to move over to ensure different random values. So we'll do shrand x equals x, then we'll rotate rand. That should do it. There we go. Isn't this fun? I'm having fun. All right, so now we can use shrand to make sure that both the clap and kick both get their own randomness. In fact, I can make this whole control change, or this CCV function, I can call it CCV ran and then shift amount. And we could just make this whole thing a CCV range 0127 shrand shift amount. And there. So, okay, one caveat to this though is that with the kick drum with the kick drum sustain, I either want it to be all the way sustained or all the way short. So let's do CCV coin flip shift amount CCV we'll do shift amount, choose 0 or 127. So it's the same thing as CCV rand, except instead of getting a value between 0 and 127, we're just choosing either 0 or 127. So we'll do CCV coin flip 101. There we go. Yeah, okay. So then just to kind of round out the drum pattern, I'm going to add a hi-hat. I actually like to use the cymbal engine in the rhythm to make a hi-hat sound. So I'm just going to isolate that so you can hear it. And then we'll do MIDI chan. This is channel 10. What did I do wrong? Huh, did you hear my stomach? That's funny. Okay, binary, what did I do wrong? Binary and, oh, 16, there we go. No, what did I do? This is right, isn't it? Second argument, struct, binary, and this is totally right. What am I doing wrong? Binary, struct, oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to change this to sound more like a hi-hat. I'm going to change this to the ride engine. We'll shorten it all the way down. Kind of dial in that hit transient. Thank you for the suggestions in chat. Yeah, we'll do this right here. Okay, so that'll be our hat sound. Just firing up on pad 11, which is MIDI chan 10. We'll do, let's go make we'll do pad 11 equals MIDI chan 10 rhythm. Oh, don't need to do that. So then I'm just gonna make a struct for this, and then we'll do struct binary. Then we'll do ASCII. Streaming is fun. Is this gonna work? Yes, it does. So just a little bit of variance in that hat pattern I want. That was like Yoda vernacular. A little bit of variance in the hat pattern I want. So if I move this over, so sometimes we'll move it over by a 16th. There we go. We'll just do that a little bit. I get really tired of typing sometimes by, so I started making a shortcut called SB. Sometimes by. I'll do SB. One thing I learned about today, a new Tidal feature that's out with the newest version of Tidal. If you want to do a 16th subdivision, which is this 0.065, you will be able to do 1s, I think. And 1s means 1/16th. And I am excited. I have not updated to the latest Tidal yet. If you wanted to do 3, you do 3s, and that's 3/16ths. It'll move, and you can use this in anywhere in the mini notation. But I do not have the latest title yet, so we cannot do this. All right, one last detail. I want a little touch of an open hi-hat. And I'm going to use the cowbell pad for that. And the reason I'm going to use the cowbell is because my hi-hat pad and the cowbell pad will choke each other. So I'm going to copy the sound from the hat sound I made, and I need to, oh my goodness, stretch, function, synth, copy, and I can't even read the screen because I've got so much crap in the way. Function, paste, oh yeah, there we go. So now I've got the hi-hat on the same, yeah, you can do 1 divided by 16 for sure. Yeah, that's a good point. But not in mini notation, you can't do this. So if you wanted to do in mini notation something like, sorry, I'm changing topics back to that, or 3/16 or 5/16, you can't do that very easily in the mini notation. I think if you use the % sign, you can do it like this then. But I guess the idea is to just have a shorthand like 5s for 5/16, 3/16, 1/16. Sorry, I'm just responding to the comment in chat there. But yeah, the 1 divided by 16 would work too. In fact, just to prove that it'll work, we'll do it right here. Yes, true. List to pat. Yes, I'm not very good with converting like the numbers to patterns or like that conversion from lists to patterns or patterns to lists. I've not mastered that yet. Okay, back to our open hi-hat. I'm going to take this synth and we're going to open it up. There we go. And I am going to create a shortcut for pad 12, MIDI channel 11. I'm also going to, I want to occasionally change this to be pad 12. And if I do sometimes by 0.09 pad 12, the problem with this though is that because of randomness, sometimes these two sometimes bys are going to fire on the same cycle, and I need to separate them by a cycle to get different randomness. So I'm going to add, well, we'll just shift it over one. This is totally my coding style in Tidal, just a ton of like shifting, and I do a lot of these games with randomness, and it's kind of verbose and a little frustrating sometimes, but I get what I want. I'm getting a lot of... All right, so I want this performance 3 pad, which controls the kick length, to fire more often, so I'm going to put a fast 3 on it. One thing I love about the rhythm drum machine is that when you've got a lot of bass, like on the low kick drums, with like the open hi-hat sound, is that hi-hat gets, there's an internal compressor, and the hi-hat really kind of has this crunchy sound to it, and it's just amazing. I'm gonna turn down that kick drum a little bit, it's a little hot. All right, I think that's good for drums for now. We'll maybe, depending on how long I stay streaming, we'll come back to this. My code is getting really big, and I'm going to maybe reduce the font size a little bit so we can put more code on the screen. Where are we in our agenda? So I've created, I've totally deviated from the agenda, so screw the agenda. Who cares? 6 more hours. I have to work tomorrow. All right. Hope everybody's having fun. Okay, so let's shift gears to Harmor, the synth that I love. Synths that I have known and loved. This is the default patch. So I'm gonna get out of title code for a minute here and just kind of focus on some sounds and maybe talk a little bit about Harmor. There is a great set of tutorials on Harmor. I would recommend a YouTuber who goes by the moniker Seamless. It's the word seamless with an R at the end because the R is silent. Man, my mic stand just keeps falling. I apologize. Yes, Seamless R. Yeah, so he's got a great set of tutorials on how to make all kinds of crazy sounds with Harmor. And honestly, I learned this synth finally made sense to me after I watched his stuff. All right, so on the right-hand side, there's actually a harmonic view of what the synth is doing, so you can kind of visualize the output of the sound. Is it really lame to have an oscilloscope of my own voice? I think not. We'll keep it. Okay, so yeah, it's a YouTuber's name, Seamless R. You know what? Let's just go find him. It is so worth checking this stuff out. Yeah, here he is. He has an amazing beard, and yeah, just go find and watch his stuff on Harmor. It's amazing. Okay, back to FL Studio. Whoa. Where am I? Haha. Just closed my browser. Dang it. I lost my chat window. At least I didn't end the stream by accident. That would have been not fun. All right. I think we're still good. Thanks for hanging in there. Okay, so all right, Harmor. So it is an additive. I think of it. It is an additive subtractive synthesizer, but I just like to think of it as an additive synthesizer. I'm gonna get these facts wrong, so bear with me. But there are like 512 or 516 individual sine wave partials that get summed together inside Harmor to make a sound. So when you play a saw wave like that, there are actually deep inside Harmor, there are 512 sine waves being calculated. And then every feature in this synthesizer has to do with bending or moving those partials somewhere. So, for example, when you do a low-pass filter, all you're doing is just removing partials. It's not like a typical subtractive filter. It's actually doing math before it gets to audio, which is not how most subtractive synths work. Or this it's kind of silly. This prism knob will actually move partials away from each other or closer to each other. You can see in the output window how things just start to bend. It's just complete nonsense. Yes, the effects are after all of the partial work has been done. Yes, thanks for calling that out. But everything else here is just, in general, when you're designing sounds, a lot of it has to do with just, it's just the synth manipulating those partials and where they are. So let's just make so the features I like to exploit in Harmor are some filter shapes that you can make, unison voices, and then there's this A and B thing. So it's like a crossfader between two different patches. So the goal that I'm going to get to is to take this pattern of zeros, ones, and twos and actually map that to the crossfader so that the crossfader is to the right or to the left depending on what number the pattern is playing. So you get these crossfader action depending on if it's a kick drum or a clap, and you kind of get that kind of synchronization. I really enjoy doing synchronized patterns between the synth and the drum machine, so everything has this kind of lockstep kind of feel. All right, so let's just make a patch, and feel free if you're watching and you want to ask some questions about Harmor, I can try to answer them as best I can. I'm going to create a one unison voice, which gives you one voice on the, well, you can pan them. I like having them panned. You can detune them. How do you disable FL Studio putting MIDI on whatever channel you got selected? I think, so what I do is I right click on my synth and then receive notes from, and then I pick the device and pick the channel. If it's on the same device, I think what you're talking about is if you have another synth, like if I put another Harmor in here and also put that on the same device but a different channel, that, yeah, sometimes it depends which one you have selected. What I do as a workaround for that is I put a dummy device like this MIDI out, and then before I perform or start working, I make sure that one is selected, and it doesn't do anything. It's just like it's like a sync for MIDI, and then the other instruments will accept their MIDI commands as you've configured them. So that's kind of my workaround. All right, so let's go low. Add some detune. I've just been using, so there's two filters in Harmor, and I've been putting each one at about 12 o'clock, and then I've been enjoying the phasers, the phaser filters, which is really just kind of like, the filters just scoop out blocks of frequency. I can adjust the width. I'm going to go to the compressor and add a heavier compressor so that it's a little louder, because we start to lose volume when we start to take out this stuff. And so you've also got this XY controller here, and you can map any knob to X, Y, or Z. So I'm going to map filter 1 to X, and I'll map filter 2 to Y. Sorry. Okay, I'm back now. I'm not sure that yeah, maybe you exploited the resonators. Yeah, a little bit. So I do like to add some resonance. Now I usually just pick like some of the default sizes and I just do simple stuff like this. So then the filter cutoff will follow, the resonance frequency will follow the XY controller. So this is kind of in the ballpark of where I like to go. There's also custom filter shapes, which I used to use a lot more. And I'd map filter 1 to custom filter 1, and then filter 2 to custom filter 2. Let me just show you what that looks like. Maybe this will sound good. So by default, the filter shape doesn't do anything. But you've got this graph where you can just start scooping out frequencies, and you can even make silly, goofy shapes if you want. And then, I mean, it sounds the same as the phaser. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of details to listen for if you want. That's custom shape. Here's phaser again. Custom shape. It's a little different. All right, we'll just go with that. I also like to map the pitch to modulation Z. So if I put the pitch all the way up, then Z all the way down. So this Z knob is now controlling that slider. Okay. What are we going to do next? So another thing I like to do is tweak. I don't want to get too deep into Harmor. Yeah, I do. That's why we're here, right? So this harmonic unison pitch, what it allows you to do is per harmonic, you can control how far it goes out of tune. So if I want the lower frequencies to go more out of tune when I increase the detuning, I can actually raise the lower frequencies. Yeah. I'm glad I did this. And we could put if we wanted the high frequencies to completely stay in tune, we could, do something like this. And then, of course, you can do the opposite. If you wanted the low frequencies to be in tune, the higher frequencies out of tune. And then you can do whatever shapes you want. Each node you can do a type of curve. So if you can even do like a wave like that if you really want to. Okay, we got something good going on. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is put some envelopes on these filters. Damn it. Go to edit, right click. Oh, can you see these menus? If I right click on a knob, can you see this menu pop up? I think there's a quirk in FL Studio where these menus don't show up on live streams. You can see them. Okay, great. So you can right click on a knob, and almost any knob in this entire synth, you can create an envelope. So go to envelope. So for filter 1 frequency, right now when I play a note, it's just static, doesn't move. But you can add an envelope. We want a single curve. And if I enable this, so because I'm using that phaser filter type, it has kind of that really wobbly sound at the start. Let me make this a little more subtle. There we go. And you can make this go pretty long if you want. And let's add one to the other filter, and we'll have it go up instead for fun, because why not? Why wouldn't you want it to go up? Everybody should own this synthesizer. It's amazing. All right. I'm going to add a little bit of distortion, just a little bit, just a touch. Okay. Oh, so up on the top, we've also have a timbre mix. Timbre? Timbre? On the left side, we've got a saw wave, and on the right side, we've got a square wave. Oh yeah, there we go. This is Mike's happy place. I really like the sound of square waves, especially for bassier sounds. Timbre, thank you. Thank you. English is terrible. All right, we'll keep it on the square side. There's also this detune thing, which will, it's kind of like the prism where it will move harmonics apart or together. Yes, yeah, you can drop waveform. I think, is it just waveforms, or can you drop even images in here? But yeah, you can click on these little graphs up at in the timbre window. You could click on them, and then you can draw a harmonic shape if you want, or yeah, you can drag in a waveform, which is, it's not a feature I really use, but you can do that. You know what, maybe I'm not going to do that right now. So this detune will also move harmonics around. Come on. Sometimes I like to play with this because it just adds a little kind of some weird harmonic content in there. Come on, all the way to 0. There you go. Oof. All right, I don't know what I think about this. We can tweak it later. Okay, so then I'm gonna just use this as kind of the bass. I'm gonna maybe try and increase the effect of these envelopes a little bit. They're a little soft. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to copy this sound, put it on the B side, and then make just like one significant change to the B side so that we have kind of this crossfader difference. Image between, oh yeah. I'm not going to use this image feature, but yeah, you can drag an image in here, and then Harmar can re-synthesize. It'll look at an image file or a wave file, and it'll process that file as data and actually kind of reverse engineer the harmonics from an image. You know what? If we add a second synth in what I'm doing tonight, we'll do that. See how much of a marathon we're up for tonight. Okay, so I can then take this part, copy part, and go to B and then paste. So now I've pasted my part to part B. All right, now we're gonna add the phaser in for part B. This is the magic right here, the phaser. We'll turn the phaser all the way on. And we're gonna go to, I'm just gonna go right to the crazy mode of the phaser, which is this frequency type. I can't explain how this works. I don't understand. But it's just, it's just awesome. So with the phaser, you've got kind of this phaser type, how it responds either to octaves, hertz mode, or harmonics. I don't know what that means. Watch the Seamless videos. He explains it better than I can. You've got a width, which will, if you go to classic. So while this is sustaining, if I change the width, you'll see what happens. Maybe. You can kind of see in that output window that the bands of the phaser, let me turn the speed up. The bands of the phaser get narrower or wider depending on the width. Hertz mode, harmonic mode, frequency type. So I usually turn the speed off. And you kind of get this static phaser that's staying in place, and then you can change the offset to change where it is in the phase. That is some sub. Hear that bass, man? That's some bass. Citrus. Yes, I am terrible at citrus. I've made some sounds in citrus, but I'm terrible at it. Yeah, this is fun. Okay. So now we've got two identical parts except for the phaser. And the nice thing is about on part B, we still have that modulation X mapping. So our XYZ controls still work on part B. Maybe turn off that distortion. I'm also going to put a high pass filter on this. It's a little heavy on the low side for my tastes. Come on, there we go. All right. All right, so the XYZ controller works for both. So what I like to do is I like to automate X, Y, and Z from Tidal, and also automate things like the prism, the phaser width, the phaser offset, phaser speed, and anything else that I think sounds interesting. One sec here. Lost some of my other browser windows. Let me close my browser by accident. All right, we're good. We're good. Yeah, you can do a lot with Citrus and Harmor. Both are really good. If EDM style basses are your thing, Harmor especially is really good at those. I don't really use it for that, but especially if you get into more complex effects chains with distortions and wave shaping and compression, modulating, EQ, yeah, I'll just stop saying words there. Okay, so let's go back to our pattern here. Do you remember that? I'm going to make a new stat. Oh, what did I do? I'm going to change this to be P drums, and then we're going to do another pattern P Harmor. And then we're going to put a stack on this. This will all be Harmor. We need to make a shortcut for Harmor. This is all in MIDI channel 1, which is MIDI channel 0 in title, so we don't need to do anything with the channels now, which is cool. And we'll do note. Oh, so let's do our mapping now. So we're going to do something like this. We will do note, and we will map this to 0. How about a rest tilde? Will this work? No, I have to do an unwrap here. For reasons I don't understand, because my Haskell is weak. Okay, we're getting there. Let's put a limit on this to make it louder. And I'm going to put this back on part A. This is what I do. It's so fun. Okay, so what's going on? So now we've got a pattern where all of the zeros are triggering the bass drum on the drum machine, and they're triggering a note in Harmor. So we've got that synchronization. Then when a 1 or a 2 is fired, we get different drum machine notes. But importantly, in Harmor, when a 1 or 2 in the pattern is fired, I am telling it to stop playing. I'm telling it to stop the note. So when you hear the clap and you hear the snare, the Harmor cuts off. What I want to do is change this so that it'll play on the clap, but it will, but it will play on that crossfader. The crossfader, I can use a computer. The crossfader will go to side B on a clap. So that means, let's see, our clap is note 1. Let's change this to that. How are you syncing the Harmor VST to your external MIDI? It just works, I guess. So in all I can really say is it just works. So I have no special latency defined in my Super Collider startup. So my Harmor synth and my Rhythm synth, both MIDI devices are given a pattern at the same time. The reason why I think it's synced up is because my drum machine is going through my audio interface. So I kind of feel like it then gets some latency so it matches up with what's in the DAW, I think. I'm doing no nudging at all. I think if I were going through an external mixer instead, I would definitely have latency. But my drum machine's actually, the rhythm output is going to the audio interface input, and the Harmor is played through the interface. So I think the interface kind of takes care of it somehow. Or I'm just lucky and you can't hear the latency is imperceptible. In earlier versions of Tidal, before Super Dirt MIDI, before we used Super Dirt for MIDI, I did have to do a lot more nudging back when there was the Tidal MIDI library, but I don't have to do that anymore. It just works, and I'm very fortunate. Okay, so, all right, so I want a note to be played. Let's make it, let's do an octave up, so the claps will be an octave up. No, let's go. All right, so the clap, the synth notes on the clap are 5 steps down. But I want to move that crossfader over. So we have to automate that crossfader. Let's start assigning some control change values to FL Studio. So FL Studio has a nice feature where you can just right click on a knob, choose this link to controller option, and you can choose the MIDI device, channel, and control number to assign to it. It can also automatically respond. So if I move a knob from Tidal, so if I do S harmar control change number 1, control change value, we'll just do random. So right now on the Harmor channel, I am sending random values on control change 1. I can just right click on X, link, done. Now you can see that X on the X controller is just moving around from Tidal. Now I can change this to CCN2 and I can map Y. Bam. 3, we'll go to Z. All right, so now let's put some variables in here. We'll do mod X equals CCN1, mod Y CCN2, mod Z equals CCN3. I haven't gotten to the crossfader though, so let's do the crossfade. X fade equals CCN4. So then let's do CCN4, and we'll modify. We can right click on the crossfader, link to controller, bam, bam. So now, all right, so what I want to do is do crossfade, X fade, and then the CCV is going to be a map of 27, 0. So now what I've just done is I've mapped that same pattern we've been using. I've mapped it to the crossfader. So the crossfader will be on the A side for the kick drums, the B side full 127 all the way to the right, on the B side for the claps, and then back. I'm not playing on the snare anyway, but it would be back to the A side for the snare. Let's see if it works. All right, it works. What is the X fade for? So the X fade is automating this crossfader. So on the A side, I've got my basic sound, and on the B side, if I go to the B, that's the phaser sound. So I'm so Tidal is automating based on this pattern. I'm automating that crossfader. That's all it is. I think I need to do so. For reasons I don't understand, unwrap will mess with your pattern a little bit, and I think if you don't have unwrap on everything, I think it will be a little. It won't be in sync. All right, so instead of the clap, I'm going to move it to the snare. These notes sound terrible, by the way. All right, so let's make it lower. I've got some quirkiness with this pattern. It's kind of annoying me. It's not sounding quite right, but we're going to leave that. Let's get back to the synth a little bit. So I'm going to automate X, Y, and Z, which will kind of make some of this sound a little bit better. So CCV, CC, no, we're gonna do X mod. No, mod X. Lower. Yes, we'll get there. We'll get there. Mod X, CCV. What was our function? CCV rand. And we'll do 200 mod Y, CCV rand, 201. Let's see. All right, we're getting somewhere. I'm going to open up the snare a little bit so that we've got more snare time. All right, the kick drum is definitely competing with the synth, so I'm going to add some more, or take some of that low end out. All right. Sidechain. Yeah, you know what? We could do some sidechain. Let's do it. We will sidechain the drums to Harmor channel, and then we will compress that. Let's set that up quick. All right, it's just a touch of sidechain that it'll at least duck out that attack, so that by the time the kick frequencies kind of leave, then the synth will come up. Put some of that bass back. Yeah, there we go. All right. So let's add some more modulation, because XYZ is not enough. It's never enough. Let's automate Prism. Let's automate the phaser. Oh, and a pitch envelope. Let's add a pitch envelope too. We'll do that last. So let's do Prism on 5. Link to controller. And because Prism is not a part of the XYZ controller, I have to link it on the B side too. So you can allow FL to map a controller to the same, or to 2 different knobs without conflict. It'll allow that. So there's our Prism. Prism is on 5. And then we're going to put the phaser width on CCN 6, phaser offset CCN 7. We'll do phaser speed also. And then phaser type. We'll do a whole bunch of phaser stuff. So let's see. Phaser width is 6, 7, 8. I can remember this. So here's phaser width on the B side. Offset is 7. Speed is 8. And the type is 9. So yeah, you can even automate these switches, which is cool. Oh yeah, prism mode. Oh, that's a great idea. Yes, we'll get there. I just want to make sure I got this set up correctly here. Yeah, I think so. All right, we'll tweak the prism stuff in a sec. There's also another trick I want to show for differentiating between A and B that I want to show too. So we'll do prism CV rand 203 phaser width, phaser offset, phaser type. So I haven't really touched phaser speed yet. So one thing I like to do with phaser speed is if you go to the phaser shape, if you put the speed up, it will move the phaser in this shape, so up and down. And you can kind of see on the visualization on the right, it'll you can see it following the shape. And I've been a fan of this kind of shape recently. You get these, like, because every harmonic goes at a different offset somehow, and you get kind of these weird bell tones in the background. It's just stupid. Or it can go up. So anyway, I like to mix in a little bit of phaser speed sometimes. Okay, let's just... So all of this stuff is going to change every cycle. So it's going to be a little intense. Or not. That's good. One thing you can do is if you want to isolate the changes in the sound, all of those parameters, you can put them in their own stack like this. And then you can just slow down that stack if you want those to go slower, like that. Yeah, repeat cycles would be good. Man, there's so much I want to get to. Okay. One thing I like doing is smoothing. I think it's called smoothing. Yeah. So in FL Studio, there is a smoothing parameter. So if you enable this, it will, when a MIDI control change happens, it will interpolate over some amount of time. And I love turning this on for everything because it's like this. It's like the sound oozes from one patch to the next. And you can put this on everything. We'll put it on the prism. Then we'll go to side B, smoothing. I hope this isn't too much talking and not enough sound, but there's just so much fun stuff to talk about. All right, so now we've got smooth parameter changes. So just watch how these knobs turn slowly. taking shape, everybody. Was that a global parameter? Is what a global parameter? The smoothing? No, it's per knob. So you can have some knobs. Like the crossfader, to me, I never want that to be smooth. I want it to be instant, but every other knob, I kind of like to have that smoothness. Okay, so yeah, slew. That is the word, slew. Okay. One other way to get a difference. Oh, so the somebody asked about changing the prism type. So the prism moves harmonics towards each other or away from each other. And you can change it so that it can be additive or multiplicative, and then you can have them go up or down. I don't know the prism that well, but you can kind of change the mode. So maybe on the B side, we'll change it to be one of the other values. Another thing I like to do is in the MIDI mapping, if I'm going to map the same knob on both the A side and the B side, I will change the mapping to be inverted so that the control from Tidal goes the other way. Again, it's just more variation. The pluck knob. I haven't been a big fan of pluck. Yeah, it's a good suggestion. I've never really been a big fan of pluck. Sorry. All right. All right. Yeah, this is taking shape. I don't quite have the sequence down that I want. So we're going to have to get back to that sequence. But, all right. So on the Harmor side, is there anything else? Let's listen a little bit. All right, where else are we going to go with this? So, what would I do if I were making a track out of this? Which I might. I don't know. I'm going to keep this. There's a few things. I mean, there's some really difficult stuff. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do very well on the stream with. I might have to sleep on some of this stuff. Like it sounds a little like the tone and the mood of this it sounds very quirky. It's very almost a little too, it's just very quirky. Oh. Not always quirky. But anyway, I know how to help that. We're going to add a pitch envelope. Let's reset. Okay, so let's go to the pitch envelope. And we're gonna pitch this down over time a little bit. And I like to make sure my pitch envelopes are really long so that in case the note sustains, it doesn't just suddenly end. Okay, And then the pitch envelope amount can be controlled by this knob. You can even go negative. Let's put a control change on that too. Let's make that 10. 10. Also put it on the B side. And we don't have a pitch envelope on the B side yet. Do we want one? Sure. Why not? And then we will map that to be inverted on the B side. And we will smooth it also. Slew. I think we're going to keep that usually all the way to the right. So there's also W choose, which is a weighted choose. I forget how that works. Is it W choose? Let's look up the doc for W choose. I always forget. So W choose the weight. Weight the choices, blah, 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 blah. 2 is like, okay. So then we are going to put I can't describe this and talk at the same time. Okay, so what this means is pitch envelope all the way to the right is 4 times as likely as it would be going to the middle or all the way to the left. I think. No. Yes, I just have an error. No, what did I do? Oh, I've got an extra paren. No. No. Still not. Something doesn't look right. CCV rand. Okay, I must have messed something up with the CCN 10. Which is PENV. Oh, it's because CCV. Okay. Sorry, I was using my custom function, but that doesn't work in that case. What do you choose? All right, so we'll do a weighted choice of 4 times as likely to be all the way to the right. And it might also go to the center or left. No, it's still not right. What am I doing? Oh, so if we do, let's try and recreate this. I'm going to isolate this in a pattern here. Half of my composition process is figuring out frickin' errors. So let's just see what I'm doing wrong with this pattern. And this is on Harmor. S Harmor So now I should be able to see that. Yeah, that looks correct. It's either in the middle, all the way right, or all the way left. You see it moving? Right there? It is moving exactly how I would expect. That looks correct. But then when I run this pattern, that looks fine. Okay. All right, I think I was just chasing an imaginary problem there. Sorry. I swear I saw it going in between values like that, but I don't think it was. There we go. All right. So I'm honestly a little surprised the stream has not crashed, given how much crap I'm running and given how much everybody else in the house is using the internet right now. All right, so I'm going to go back to the drums. I want to add a little bit of kind of crunchiness to that clap. I want to add an LFO to the amplitude. So I'm going to assign the LFO, and I know this is super boring because you can't see it, but and then add a little bit of depth on that. And we'll have the LFO start when it's triggered. It's not fast enough. That's the problem. There we go. I want some grit in this sound. Quicker attack on the clap. I'm kind of agreeing with you. So on the rhythm synth on the clap engine, you can put you can adjust how fast the clap goes. Let me turn that LFO off so you can hear it better. Turn the filter back up too. So I can turn, I can make the clap go slower. I can increase the number of clap transients. So that's 7 transients going really slow. Let's turn all the transients off. Yeah, I'm just gonna make it more like a snare. Turn that filter down a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to put some performance parameters on that LFO depth and the LFO speed. So I know this is kind of an annoying thing that you can't see, but that's what we're gonna do. So we are going to, on performance pad 8, we will make the LFO depth affected by that. Bear with me here. Remember how to use my synth. Okay. And then on this other performance parameter, performance pad 7, we will set the LFO speed. Oh, no. 2, 3, 4, I think. Okay. So I think I got this right. So let's go back to our owner's manual. Because I don't remember the values again. Why would I remember the values? I put them in variables. Okay, so I've got performance parameters 7 and 8, which is 42 and 43. So let's go for 7, 48. Oh, it's a joy, isn't it? That's 2 perf 7 CCV. This is the, so we'll do CCV rand 300. Fast 2.1 perf 8 CCV. This is the LFO depth. We'll do coin flip 301. Let's see what this does. Do not see them firing. All right, so I've got the mapping wrong. If I push on them by hand, you can hear them. You can hear that clap go in and out. Let me make a mute function here. See my big list of variables I got? That's how every little session turns if I don't create them in a separate file. You know, and since these things don't change very often, I'm going to put these in a separate block. This is called code gulf, friends. G equals const it's my mute function. Let, what is the problem? Let in a do block. I don't understand. What's the problem? Is my indentation wrong? There we go. Indentation was wrong. Okay, so let's mute harmar with the G function, because G obviously means mute. So this perf 7 and 8 are not firing. Seven is 47, 8 is 48. Do I have that right? No, 7 is 42, 8 is 43. I had it wrong. 42, 43. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, let's bring the synth back in. All right, the next thing I want to do is add a little bit of stutter to that clap so it'll repeat, which I can't isolate it like this though. I'm going to have to stutter everything. I'll have to stutter the kick, the snare, and the clap. So we'll do some cycles by, and I hate typing that, so we'll do SSB equals some cycles by. SSB B, so maybe 25% of the time we'll do a stut width for 1/16, and then we'll decrease the gain a little bit over time. We'll multiply the gain by 90%, so it'll get quieter every time. All right, so we got a little bit of a stutter in there, but I want to vary the number of stutters and also vary how fast they are. So right now they're always 4, but I'm going to choose between 4 and 8. Let's choose between 4, 8, and 12. No, just 4 and 8. How about 4, 6, and 8? And then we have to shift this over to make sure the randomness is unique. And then we will also choose the length. So 1/16 is the default. We'll make 1/8 an option, and then you know what? We'll do 3/16 also. And then this also has to be a unique randomness in a cycle. All right, this is a really long function that's hard to read, but that's just how it goes. There we go. Now what I want to do is I want to add more variation in this pattern. I mean, it's already kind of hard to follow, but I'm going to add this thing called a mod, or mod pat. And we'll do like every 3 reverse. So then we'll just put that on top of both the harmar and the rhythm patterns, mod pat. All right, so I slowed down the changes in the synth, and it kind of allows you to kind of latch on to that sound for a bit before it changes. Doesn't sound like it's changing at all, though. Oh, I think I've got a conflict. I've got slow 3, something with this mod. Every 3 rev. I think I have some conflict with the slowness factor and then that reverse. There we go. Add another stutter speed. We'll do 1/4. I'm gonna try a new tempo too, just for fun. Not that fast. All right, I feel like I'm kind of getting to the end of things here, about as far as I wanted to take it. the other thing I would typically do is I would start to add different scenes on the rhythm synth. So you've got this feature where in the same kit, so I'm working in a kit right now, you can define a second scene, and you can change all of the sounds that are playing to be a different scene. So, for example, let's make a scene where the sounds are a little different. And we'll do chan 2. So here's our bass drum. So if I change this to be a new scene, I can then alter the sound for this scene. Let's give it like a, I don't know. There we go. Kind of a snappy thing. Then we can change the clap also. I don't know what we're going to do here. Maybe for this, we can change the filter a little bit. And for the snare, will be kind of a low. Let's open up the snares a little bit. All right, so I've just defined a custom scene. So now, let's go back to the docs. So there's a way to change the scene. Where is it? Active scene is CC92. The name of my visual code, VS Code theme is Enki Aster Green. Enki Aster Green. Alrighty, so then we will do scene equals CCN92. So now we can change the scene periodically from code. So we can do like scene, and then I like to create, so 0 means no change, 1 means scene 1. So the scene numbers actually map to the exact MIDI CC values. I don't think I did this right. CCN92. So we want Pat. I think I got that right. So now you can hear the now we got 2 sets of kicks, 2 sets of claps, 2 sets of snares. So I'm going to one scene for one cycle, then the next scene the next cycle. Let's add a third scene. All right. So I will add a second scene here, and then we'll change the snare. And then we'll do the kick drum. To be honest, sometimes I feel like I run out of ideas for how to change these sounds, but Yeah, I like those dark transients. Then we'll do the clap. Let's maybe add a filter sweep to this. Not really going to hear it unless we have the performance parameter going, but we'll just see how it goes. All right. All right. We'll add scene 3 in here. Add a little bit of a filter, high pass filter on the hi-hats, because that's what I'm feeling. Let's make them a little bit lighter. All right. So now we've got 3 different drum kits going on. All right. So unless anybody's got any other bright ideas, I'm probably going to start wrapping it up here. I've pretty much kind of showed everything that I typically do. When I sit down and work, this is kind of my starting point. And then if I want to make a track, there's a lot more detail with listening for fine little nuances that I might tweak, but this is the general direction. Oh yeah, image resynthesis. I'm not sure how I would mix that into this thing that I've made now, but let's maybe create a second synth. So let's go. I'm gonna clone this. Hydra patterns. I'm not really into Hydra yet. We'll put this on channel 2, and we'll put this over on its own mixer channel also. And let me mute this one. Oh, right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so let's set up this synth. So I've got a clone of the original synth. I'm going to change it to the resynthesis preset, which by default doesn't do anything. So yeah, let's go out to the Hydra patterns. Let's find something that looks interesting here. All right, let's maybe go with this one. What do you think? Can I drag and I don't think I can drag and drop this right to Harmar Hydra JPEG. And so now I should be able to, why can't I view my Finder? There we go. I don't think I have anything incriminating on my desktop, but I'm not going to show it. Okay, so I just dragged that image in to Harmor, and let's see what it sounds like. So if we speed it up. All right, so in general, I believe Harmor will take the lighter or the brighter colors and make them higher amplitude, and the darker colors will be lower amplitude. So I think that's why when we go over these, when the so the colors and the brightness gets interpreted to harmonics, and then as we go from left to right, the harmonics change their amplitude. So that's why these dark areas are quieter. Oh, yeah, here we go. So it's gain, frequency. I forget. Yeah. So it's a combination of gain and frequency. So you can. So one of the things I like to do, and is when I've done image resynthesis in Harmor. So by the way, you've got all the same controls if the entire synth still apply. So if you want to unison voice this thing, detune it down. Slow it way down. Add the frickin' phaser. Not saying you should, but you can. So you've got all the same controls. Maybe use the last part as a high-pitched lead. Yeah, so... So one thing... yeah, so let's try and make a lead sound. Before I talk about that, I like to try and do like a 0 speed or near 0 speed to make pads. Let's give this an amplitude envelope. So you could easily create pads with this stuff just by freezing time. So it's just, I'm just randomly picking a point, and then you can create a pad from that. You can even create pads with unison. So here's just one note. If I create like a 5-voice unison, you can even change per, where is it? Per unison index mapping. Per unison voice, you can change what pitch it maps to. So you can create, I think I'm doing this right. This is pitch thickness, so I've got it wrong here. Maybe it's in the pitch, unison index mapping. Oh yeah, so you can create like chords just through unison with hitting one note on the keyboard, like that. And it's still polyphonic. So even if you play 4 notes, I'm actually playing 20 notes right now in unison, 5 times 4, and they've all got their own weird mapping for each unison voice is mapped to a different pitch. But we're not going to do that at the moment. I like the suggestion of a lead sound, so let's do a lead. So let's go back. We'll remove our. You know what? A pluck might be very handy here. Let's maybe increase our speed a little bit. If we do a band pass. Another thing that's cool about the pluck is customizable per harmonic. So pluck shape, what this default pluck shape means is that the lower harmonics, and you can even see on the display on the right, the lower harmonics kind of stay, and the lower harmonics have a longer sustain. The higher harmonics get faded out more quickly. So I can change the pluck shape like this, so that the high harmonics stay longer. Or we could have it opposite, so that the high harmonics are long and the low ones are short. And you can do any shape you want. That's a pluck, people. All right, this will do. What about that low pass instead? So I love that the image that we imported has so many weird features to it that the harmonics just go all over the place as you sustain. Is this interesting? I've never really gotten into this territory. Okay, let's make a lead pattern. Limit, and then this will be so we'll make harmar midi chan 0, and then lead s harmar midi chan 1. So now we've got our lead sound. I'm going to take the original harmar pattern out. I don't know what this is going to be exactly. I kind of feel like if we want another sound, it should be separate from this pattern we've been working with. We should have it be its own thing. Let's make a gain pattern, and like this. I don't know. And then we will put a note pattern. Let's do a scale, and we will, we'll have a scale pattern that's like this. I don't even know if this is gonna, let's turn off the drums, see what this sounds like. Does this even work? Oh, I need to do lead. do you think, folks? All right, let's see what this does. It's a little much. Let's maybe put an envelope on that filter. Yeah, I like the suggestion of using it more like a bell sound because it is more of a contrast. Everything, at least with the other Harmor synth, there's a lot of competition between this image sound and that Harmor sound, and to get distinction between them, yeah, like the bell attack might be more appropriate. But I think some EQ and some other tweaking would be good. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, good suggestion. Thank you. All right, so one thing I'm going to try, I don't know if it's going to work with this sound. In the advanced tab, you can reorder how things are applied. So you can move the prism after the filters, for example. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And then when you change the filter, I think you have to change the prism shape. But when you change the filter cutoff, it'll change the prism amount. But I think I have to change the prism shape to do this. So instead of this default prism shape, I think if the whole thing is just all the way up, maybe not. I mean, it might be kind of interesting to do that, but That's kind of fun. Any other questions? I mean, I wasn't planning on making this stream so much about Harmor, but any other questions about the resynthesis stuff? Another one thing I like more for bass sounds. Change this back. Is changing the scale and the formant. You can really get some different kind of timbres with timbres. Timbres. If there's a word I learned today, it's timbre. Such a huge difference in the sound. But let's go back to our lead that we had going there. There we go. All right. I think that's about as far as I was going to take things tonight. Little play, tighten up. Yeah, we've kind of done it. I don't think I'm going to record this. But I might just let the stream go for a while and just let it play. Also drag a WAV file and export the image it generates. Yes. I've never really done that. How do you export? Oh, I just moved our position. Dang it. Oh no. It's lost forever. It'll sound similar, right? There we go. This? Oh, yeah, okay. Save as image file. Yep, cool. Got it. Cool. Thanks for the tip. That'll be fun. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna just let this play for a bit, and then I'll turn it off, and then we'll be done. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I know this was a long haul as far as like tutorials and that style of video go. This wasn't exactly a tutorial, but it's a long time to just listen to me talk. So thanks for hanging in there. This is how I make music. So yeah, maybe I'd love to do more of these, but I've kind of shared everything that I know how to do. This map technique that I've been using with patterns, this is really my favorite thing to do at the moment. Taking a pattern, mapping it to multiple stuff. Multiple stuff? What's multiple stuff? Yeah, this... Oh yeah, I can... I'll upload all of this to GitHub repository, including the FL project file. I will totally do that. This is all the source code for this. In fact, let's just init this right now, shall we? How big is this project file? I don't think it'll be a big deal. Hold on a sec. Let's see. Code. Title. Stream. Oh, I don't have this project file saved yet. Oh yeah, I do. It's on. Let me save it to where it needs to go. Code. Harmor stream. FL project. So this is, yeah, that image I imported, I think is like 6 megs. No, it's only 100K. Why is this project so big? Why is this so big? What if I take some stuff out? Let's take out the wave candy, because who needs that? That didn't do anything. What is in this project? It's got to be that. It's got to be this image. Why would this project be 6 megs? Well, whatever. You all don't care. I'll upload this, and then you can download the whole thing. It is saved. Let's just do it right now, shall we? First, committed. Let's create a repo out there for everybody. And title rhythm harmar stream. New repository. Yay, internet. And we will add our origin. And it should all be up there right now, folks. There it is. So Kindome / title rhythm harmar stream. Everything. I have everything is saved. Everything is out there. Of course, if you don't have FL Studio, it's not going to help much. But if you do, have fun. Have fun, kids. All right. Well, I'm just going to let this play for a bit, and I'm probably going to step away for a sec, and I'll come back, and I'll just stop it. So, thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for all the great questions. Appreciate it. This was fun to work on. Yeah. Let me add that wave candy back. Where's wave candy? Oh my goodness. Wave candy. How come I can never find it? Oh my goodness. Seriously. Wave candy. There it is. And this is so important, people. So important. All right. So here we go. Put in the wrong spot.